I've cleared out.
All right, welcome to the April 15th Lifeboat Academy Coordination Circle. Regrets from April today as she is getting ready to go to a concert in Vancouver. And she's taking a little much needed time away, kind of regeneration time. And so it'll be the three of us today, I believe. And as is our tradition, we will start with grounding and bringing the land in. Is there anybody who'd like to do the grounding or the land acknowledgement?
I can do it.
Take it away.
It'll help me ground myself too, to lead the grounding. So I invite you to close your eyes or find a soft gaze, whatever is comfortable for you. And first start to notice your breath moving in and out of your body. No need to change the breath, just noticing its current rhythm. And as you breathe, notice the sensation of breathing in air, taking air in from our environment, and the sensation of expelling that air back into the environment. And notice this constant relationship and exchange between your body and the atmosphere in which you find yourself. And as you breathe, notice your feet on the floor and see in your mind's eye the foundation, the building that you're in under your feet. And notice how the foundation rests on the earth, on the land itself, and how your body and the room that you are in and the building that you are in are all held by the earth. And beyond the building you're in, notice in your mind's eye the land surrounding you. Maybe bring to mind some of the landmarks that you're familiar with, that you have a relationship with. And I invite you to see yourself as part of the landscape, just as much as the trees, the animals, the flowers, the dirt. And I invite you to notice and acknowledge our obligation to these landscapes that we're part of just by the nature of being part of it, being connected to it. And the role that we play as stewards in these lands and our landscapes is one that we can embrace with kindness and love, respect and humility and gratitude. And we can look to the many, many generations of Indigenous stewardship of the lands where we live to learn, unlearn, and relearn how to be in right relationship, how to move towards right relationship on the lands where we live and the physical manifestation, the practical manifestations of that. So I invite you to take a moment to just within yourself extend some gratitude and some acknowledgement to the Indigenous peoples who've stewarded the lands where you live for time immemorial. And we recognize that they are still here, they are still resisting ongoing colonialism and imperialism, genocide, and that we can do our best to be allies and accomplices and supporters of that movement, all of the movements. So with that, I invite you to wiggle your fingers, wiggle your toes, and we will count backwards. 3, 2, 1. Open your eyes and come back to the circle.
Thank you very much. That was quite nice. And I'm gonna share my screen now and we'll kind of dive into it a little bit. So we've done our grounding and we usually start with a bit of a check-in and really have any, actually, today we started off gray and then we had little bits of sunlight peeking out here and there. So today's check-in question is, what is peeking at you? And the circle is Ronnie, Roland, and me. So Ronnie, over to you. What seems to be peeking at you today?
I would say some inklings of shifts in my life, shifts and also just around me too. Yeah, things shifting towards more balance and more alignment and more meaning. Just roll on.
What's peeking at me today is Zelda from the couch. Over to Ben.
What is peeking at me? I think it's ease. I am seeing little peaks of finding ways to let things be easier. And yeah, hopefully I can kindle that ember. And so we also will go through a reminder of why we are here and our opportunity to revisit our North Star. Why are we here? What are we doing? Why does it matter? And I think I'm going to go with just our standard. So, what is it we're trying to do? What's the short form of what we're trying to do together? Why is it important? And where are we now? And you can answer part or all of those questions. And you can always pass. And I think we'll do 2 rounds today. So we all get a chance to share our answer, and then we'll go through and see what we heard in each other's answers. So over to you, Ronnie, and I will type in the question as you begin to answer.
We are trying to create a network of support and resource sharing that centers the land and honors all our relations. And it matters because we are transforming the dominant culture of violence and extraction that has created a lot of pain and suffering in the world. And where are we now? we are using our tools and processes to continue bringing people in to expand the network, to expand and deepen the network. So the inner and the outer, both. And yeah, pass to Roland.
So what are we trying to do? I think we are, am I trying to do something, or I'm experimenting. I'm experimenting, I'm experimenting to work out how to act with awareness and radical honesty to help guide us. So I think that we are experimenting, and we're experimenting with ways to be able to bring awareness and radical honesty to what action actually means, to help guide us to discover the true source of happiness, in spite and the true source of happiness can exist. This is my hypothesis, in spite of the suffering that we are creating collectively in the world, or have created collectively in the world. Over to you, Ben. You're muted.
Yep, I just noticed that. I'm trying to think if there's anything really to add. Ditto on the experiment and ditto on the network, and it really is about shifting. It's the transforming the dominant culture. And so, yeah, I think we're, what are we trying to do? We're trying to learn, well, and I'm going to steal your thing, Roland. We are learning to unlearn so that we can learn to be responsive to what is in a healthy and sane way. I think that maybe I would paraphrase this true source of happiness that you're talking about as sanity, and moving away from, well, and that's, yeah, moving away from delusion and OCD behavior, that kind of societal busyness, sort of pointless busyness, distracting busyness. And it is an experiment, and we have a hypothesis, and we're ready to be surprised. And it matters. I think no one said it, but I think we're all thinking it, because we are in a crisis. That's many are aware of and many are not. And where are we now? And I think that's where we are now is it's all fractal. And I think we're in a process of discovery, and I think we're in a process of discovery. So yeah. So let's be curious. I think of Bio Kamalafe, the times are urgent, let us go slow. So now that we've all had a chance to share, just a once more around, anything sparking with you? Do you notice anything coming up? Ronnie, over to you.
What's the importance of practice? Like, we're creating spaces for practice. It's the doing over and over and over again that really shifts things over time. On doing all of the things that we do over and over again. So it's not like, come to this seminar, learn how to build a lifeboat, go ahead. You know, it's like, here are the spaces for actually engaging in a committed way. That really, to me, is unique, and also is an element of, like, the organizations I know of that are really offering something effective like we are. It's that ongoing commitment. Yeah. Over to Roman.
I think we are recognizing that to make lasting, effective, and nourishing and sustainable material change, it has to come from an ongoing spiritual journey. And I don't, and of course, just to qualify by spiritual, I mean sort of inner exploration, and well, again, I think radical honesty comes in. So over to you, Ben.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. No, I like it a lot. It's cool. And I don't think I have anything to add. Yeah. Yeah, lean into the process. So with that, let's move on to taking a quick look at our annual and seasonal plans. We're fairly soon, we're going to have to start thinking about updating our seasonal plan. And because time just does that. Speaking of ongoing process, turns out it's middle of April. So just going over, we've got our 5 guilds, which are each starting to, and I think where we are, I guess I shouldn't, it's interesting where we are now in the guilds, is I feel like the guilds are finally starting to settle into a sense of what each of the guilds is about. And I think we're about ready to start taking material steps and go slow to go fast. So Heartwork and Philosophy has been looking at how to deepen those inner connections, inner and outer, but going for the depth. And Principles and Governance has been really focused on onboarding. And of course, onboarding then brings us back to the process and figuring out what do people need. So that's also part of the experiment there is how do we know when we've onboarded people, and how do we use that feedback? Finance and Legal has been focused on moving the legal stuff forward so that we can actually purchase and acquire the property, legal and financial. So partly relations and partly structures. Farm, Food, and Housing is focused on just trying to keep on keeping on with the material side of things, making a plan, getting things, seeds in the ground. And Outreach and Network is thinking about, in part, how do we expand that network? And part of that expansion is getting clearer on how we talk about what we're doing. So exploring, it's not just about finding, finding leads, it's actually about refining how we have that conversation. And for the year, we're really looking at our plan this year is to establish the legal entity, purchase the property, get that finalized. That would be, if we did nothing else but that this year, I think would say it would be a monumentally successful year. And we also are looking at ways of bringing the people who've already expressed an interest further along on the onboarding, and then figuring out how we can onboard new people more effectively. Making sure that we are bringing everyone up to speed and that we're on the same page around priorities and what's the best use of our time and our resources, and beyond that, establishing the baseline so that, speaking of experiments, we actually have a way of measuring all of our experiments as we move forward. And any thoughts, questions, observations on where we are in terms of the big picture? Ronnie, Roland? All right. Looking at the calendar, I have to stop share and reshare. Looking at the calendar, here we are today. So going through this week, we have stop my share there. So we've got outreach and network meeting on Tuesday. We have a tentative navigation session for Wednesday morning, and that's actually something I want to put on the agenda for today. Because I personally have a meeting at 11 with another project. The Foodlands AGM is Wednesday afternoon, Pacific time, 3:30 Pacific time. I'm planning on attending, and I would encourage anybody else in the guild who, or in the guilds in the Lifeboat Academy to attend, as one of our main partners, and who I think it's probably I'm looking forward to attending, because I think there's more opportunities to expand our relationships into that organization. So, and then we've got principles and governance on Thursday. Friday, I'm going to be in Vancouver on a project, and then Jake and crew are coming. So we'll be hosting, we don't know how many people, but Jake's enlisting some friends to take down a dome, and they're going to be staying here. So we'll have some social time. That'll be fun. The weather's going to be awesome. So that looks, hopefully that will be a fun social event. Next week, April's birthday is on Monday, so we should probably all take note of that. And we've got a coordination circle 1 week ago, 1 week in the future as well. We're still on the every week until we decide otherwise. We have a tentative Hive Mind time scheduled for Tuesday, mentorship meeting for Wednesday, heart work on Thursday a week. Oh, and podcast with Andy. The last one got canceled because Andy wasn't feeling well. And then we have finance and legal on the 26th, which is actually going to be our meeting with the lawyers. So hopefully that will be getting the ball rolling on actually establishing the legal structure. So we may be able to tick off a really important goal on that. Are there any questions or things to add to the calendar? Ronnie?
No. For a while.
All right. Wrong button. That button. There.
Do we want to talk about the navigation session now, or when do we do that?
I'm thinking let's add it to the potential issues.
Okay.
Oh, and we also had the other thing, which was, invitations.
So what is today's potential issues? What kinds of, is it just things that we want to talk about today?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Basically, it's kind of brainstorming for the agenda. And what I was thinking is we'll come back to it when we do the guild reports. that's also where topics come up. So we can be kind of adding to the hopper. If anybody has anything that you want to add as potential issues, speak up now. We can add them in, but
Okay,
then we'll come back to it after the guilds.
and I'm not entirely sure what fits in there, so I'm just going to say, and you can tell me. There is the looping in, there's a six conversations talk that we had at the
Right. And that's why I was going to reserve this for after the guild reports, because that's going to come up in the guild reports.
Julio.
Yeah. I'll add it right now, but it'll make more sense, I think, in context. So let's bop into guild reports. And we'll start off with Heart, Work, and Philosophy. Roland, back to you.
Oh, right. Well, that was a bit of a preface there. So the Heart Work and Philosophy Guild met, and we've been talking about um, sessions of different types that we could have. One that we've been talking about is a book club, and that's still in the works, so we're not ready to really present on that yet. The other one is six conversations, which comes from a book by Bob. Is it Bob Roberts?
No. Ben Roberts.
Ben Roberts.
No, it's not his book.
No,
John Block?
that's it.
John Block, I think. Last
Yeah,
name is Block, but
yeah. And they seem to complement very well our system. And we would like to offer it to all of the Lifeboat Academy and um, the guild would like to talk to outreach for a couple of reasons. One of them is that I think, Ben, you were saying that it would be useful it could be potentially useful for the lifeboat circles. And also that in terms of facilitating the six conversations, that the lifeboat circle facilitator might be interested, or that we would be interested in talking to the lifeboat circle facilitator, who is you, Ronnie. And so I guess it's working out using the process and our system to communicate that information to the outreach guild, and probably do considerations with the outreach guild and a proposal. And I was thinking, since most of the people who are in the um, Heart Work Guild are also in the Outreach Guild, that we could bring it up at the next outreach meeting. So something that I'd like to add to that agenda. And I think that's all I have. The YouTube video of our April 11th meeting is up, and anyone can go and have a look at it. And I think the Asana notes are up to date. So back to you, Ben, for the next guild report.
Yeah, I think I'll elaborate a little bit, because I think, Ronnie, we've talked, I think you've been in meetings where we've been talking about the six conversations, and it is really similar to the idea of the lifeboat circle. And one of the things that kind of came up at the heart work, well, it's interesting because, given our revisiting our North Star, it was kind of the problem with the lifeboat circles was it didn't necessarily lead anywhere. We would have the one circle and it was hard to know what to do. And now the six conversations are basically a way of elaborating that. So kind of engaging people over time. So anyhow, that was part of that motivation in there. Over to you, Ronnie. Any thoughts, questions?
I'm just really excited to learn more about it and potentially integrate with the lifeboat circles. And because I'm now facilitating circles outside of these lifeboat spaces, I feel like I'm circling back to wanting to deepen my um, experience and learning around circle process and the different ways that it can be used and applied. So that just, it all feels very timely. So I think that's awesome. And I have nothing else to add.
Cool. And I think I said at the Heartwork meeting, I'm kind of thinking about, we know how to do circle, and the 6 conversations is really about good questions to prompt circles. So it's kind of like you take the circle process, it just runs itself. And then these are some really interesting provocative questions to prime that pump. All right, principles in governance. That's me, and we haven't met. We'll be meeting on Thursday. So there's not really anything to update. I did a Sociocracy 101 presentation for community justice. And so it's the same materials that we have on the help desk, or the same presentation. And I think I'm going to move that Peter Block. Thank you. I knew, so I was like, I knew the last name was Block. Anyhow, so the only thing there is really, because I've been moving some things onto the help desk, I'm getting more motivated to keep the help desk active. And like in the updated presentation, I now have reference materials at the end, including our help desk. So after we go through Sociocracy, here's how to contact us and keep in touch. Finance and legal. We had a meeting last Friday. We did updates on and reconnecting with the lawyers. That has moved forward even since then. The lawyers are available. So now we are confirmed that the next meeting on the 26th will be with the lawyers. And Roland and I are signing papers just to make it all tickety-boo. We also updated folks on connecting with Joey. And that has involved, we've sent Joey a copy of the Google Doc that has our, what we're trying to do with the legal structure, and asking for his perspective from a potential investor lens. So, is there anything that we're proposing that would be a red flag, or, cause problems for investors, or if there any ways that we can clarify it? And the other, I think the big thing was, so that's all ongoing. Yeah, and the next steps that everyone kind of independently had their aha moment was, we just need to forge forward with figuring out if and how we can get Joey and Stephanie talking together. Because at this point, that's kind of the figuring out how we can make this work for them and us, and but it's facilitating. Actually, I guess the next step, one of the next steps is meeting with the lawyers and meeting with Joey, or having a conversation, maybe probably just like a Zoom, I'm imagining. And yeah, facilitating that meeting. Hopefully they both expressed a willingness to it. And so I think it's a matter of figuring out how to make that happen. So over questions, ideas, whatever, over to you, Ronnie.
that all sounds great, and I'm excited about it. And I need a bio break, so I'm gonna go do that.
Okay. Roland, any questions or additions?
I don't think so. Yeah, I think that's good.
All right.
And well, yeah, and actually the meeting between Joey and Steph, from what I can remember, was a suggestion that came from Joey.
Right. Well, yeah, he expressed some questions about, would Steph consider, or would she be open to things? And I think, um, well, and actually, it's also, I think Stephanie has expressed a willingness for this to happen and wants some assurance that it's possible.
Mm,
And so also, kind of being able to answer whatever questions she might have about the possibilities.
possibilities. That's all for me.
Cool. Well, let's move on then to farm food and housing. If you have an update there.
Well, the just that we're going to be exercising our housing and feeding muscles this weekend with a group of people, and this is sort of a favor to our dear Jake, longtime supporter and willing investor. Um, who is doing something on another property on Pender. And so good practice. And we're happy to host the group. And there was something else, and I can't think of it. I think of what it is right now, so it couldn't have been that important. So, oh yes, I remember now. Email is going out today to set up a meeting time for sure for the Farm Guild. Because we have some outstanding questions that need to be answered from neighbors.
Right.
So that's all. Any questions or comments about that? Any of that?
I had a recent activity. Um, oh, actually, just we have had woofer requests coming in
Mm,
that we have not been answering. So I think in terms of next steps, um, part of what I would like to put on the agenda for the farm meeting is um, responding to woofer requests. And some of them, I believe, oh, geez. Um, I think some of them were actually local, like Victoria local people who
mm,
might be interested in ongoing, like a weekend here and there kind of thing. Um, that's the sense that I got. Most of the requests that have come in have been canceled because we just haven't been getting back to people. And I would like to get back to everyone, even when we missed the window, just to actually say we're sorry. We were taking a while to um, come out of our winter dormancy, and so if you're thinking about coming back, we're still available. Try to um, put out any bridges that we might have set on fire. So I mean, I don't think it's a major deal, but it just feels kind of like the right thing to do.
yep, that sounds good.
So I guess over to you, Ronnie.
Nothing to add. Over to Roland.
Well, I was reporting on it, so I'm done.
Up
I
next.
mean,
Out.
okay,
Yeah.
great. Okay. We
Outreach
have
and
not
network.
met since our last coordination circle, but I did want to share that I'm looking forward to hearing feedback on our various materials from newer members of our outreach guild. And I'd really love for us all to go over our website tomorrow, um, as both a way to improve the website and be in alignment with our messaging, but also as a way for people to just more onboarding, more conversation around what we're doing and how we share that with the world. So I think I think that'll be fun. And yeah, I think that's all I have. Oh, and just one fun thing is that Ben and I had a mentoring session recently, and we have a new mentee who is my friend Austin, who is here in Austin. I think it's really funny that my first mentee is in Austin is named Austin. Um, but we had a really great long conversation with him, and he's really aligned with the lifeboat building work and circle process and sociocracy, and is really, really, really ready to and interested in learning a lot more about all of it. So was really, really awesome to have him on board. And that's all. Any comments, questions, concerns? Rowan, Ben?
That's a no, Roland. Um, I'm having ideas are popping in and popping out really quick moment. Outreach. Oh, podcast idea. One of the thing, not the Andy podcast, conversation that Roland and I had. We frequently have conversation. It's sort of at that intersection of heart work and outreach. And we were thinking about how do we share out more of the conversations that we have, um, without making it a big deal to have a podcast. Is it something like, actually, is the book club really about a drop-in conversation around a topic that we record and we promote like a podcast? And if we actually kind of schedule the topics, we can actually be doing the topics that come up in our regular stuff, and thinking about it as like a podcast. So anyhow, that's just kind of like I think I just wanted to put it out there because we've had that conversation a couple times where we come back to, these are really cool conversations that we're having. More people should, be looped into them, and how do we do that in an easy way?
Yeah.
So that's all. All right, so that brings us to, we've gone through all of our guild reports. So going back then, we've got the three things to talk about. It sounds like 6 conversations is basically something that we're just going to move into the outreach meeting tomorrow. Sort of that so that's actually an action item. And then we've got the 2 topics. One is just a kind of a housekeeping thing around, a little bit of housekeeping, but also I think maybe thinking through the navigation sessions and how do we want to move forward on those, or where does that conversation happen? And then a kind of a housekeeping thing around how do we want to put out notifications for the coordination circle, but I think that also makes sense for the other meetings. Is there anything else that anyone has to add to the list? All right. Shall we just dive in the order in which they are there? So I guess let's treat this as gathering considerations around the navigation session. I know Pamela can't be there on Wednesday. I can be there until 11. The meeting that I have that conflicts is at 11, so I could be there. Meaty has also sort of expressed a desire to step back a little, or has basically, she's got a lot of stuff going on in her life and may or may not be available. It sounds like so this Wednesday there's a question of should we, shouldn't we, but then more generally there's the question of how do we I think we should engage more people in the regular navigation sessions, and I'm not sure how we want to go about doing that. And is that just something that we talk about in outreach? I guess it comes up in other places about people saying, oh, the navigation sessions are really good, but I didn't know that they were available, or, that kind of thing. So at this point, that's the context, and we'll just open it to considerations, thoughts, ideas, questions, etc. Ronnie, over to you.
It would also work for me to not have it this Wednesday because I had a conflict that I had to say no to, but I didn't have to, I don't have to do anything. I said no because of the navigation session, but if we don't have the session, then I can do that thing, which is a thing that pays me money. So I like things that pay me money. And also, I was already going to bring up the navigation session at this meeting because the Calendly, it's not set up on Calendly, the sign up.
Mm.
And I also can't find the login to Calendly because I recently overhauled all my passwords and where I store things. And anyway, I couldn't get into Calendly to fix it. So people wouldn't have been able to sign up anyway, or currently are not able to sign up.
And that's because of my conflict.
Right, that makes
Yeah.
sense. So anyway, all to say, I think skipping this Wednesday seems appropriate. And then do we want to just wait 2 weeks? Austin is interested in attending them, so whenever we have the next one, he will most likely be there, which is cool. And I agree about, I really want to ask all of us, everybody in the out, at least in the outreach guild, like please invite people to the navigation sessions. It's not all on the three of us to do the inviting. We already put it in the newsletter. I was planning to put a Lifeboat Builders Facebook group post out about it, but also yeah, invite people that you know. I haven't talked to Kath in weeks, I'm realizing. I haven't heard from Kath, so maybe I'll reach out to Kath um, and kind of get in touch with ER people that way. Yeah, that's what I have for now. Over to Roland.
It sounds like it's working itself out. And I agree, there's two things. One of them is do you want to have it this Wednesday? I, of course, am not here on Wednesday, so I'm usually not available for them. And yeah, it sounds like it kind of makes sense. There's people who aren't going to be there that hasn't been advertised, so people can't sign up for it, and there are conflicts. So um, and I also agree that what to do with the navigation sessions is a discussion to continue with the outreach guild at the outreach guild meeting. So over to you, Ben.
Cool. So I think let's take it as a done deal that we're just not going to, because at this point, if we don't do anything, the navigation session isn't going to happen. So, we just can let it not happen. And especially if you're going to reconnect with Kath, I think that's great because that'll be the one person who might be, trying to get in, kind of be looking for it this Wednesday. Yeah, and I like that that'll continue. I like the idea about putting out a post about it, and this is where, everything starts simple and gets complicated. Because I think that there is, or maybe it's not. Maybe this is actually a way of figuring out how we can use these kinds of opportunities to have to do more engagement in the normal communications. Like instead of just posting, here's a navigation session, you can sign up on this link, actually telling a story about how cool they are, and or getting people to do testimonials about them, or recommending them to friends. So cool. It sounds like we got that covered in terms of this Wednesday. We're just going to let that go, and then tomorrow we can talk through more about how that goes. As long as I am a little worried that the outreach agenda is more full than it can be. but I think we can prioritize that for tomorrow. And it may be figuring out how to like spin off some of these decisions so we don't have to make the decision. Like it could be figuring out the pieces and parts and who can do something. So tasking it out. Cool. All right. Just to double check, are we good? Is there anything else? Over to you, Ron. Good. Milan. Thumbs up. All right. And then how do we notify people about coordinate who gets on the list and everything? I don't have really strong feelings about this, but it's and I think there may also be a critical mass question. It would be, I wish more people were taking up Slack, because I think this is a perfect way of using Slack. And but I guess that would be one consideration would be how do we use social media for meeting invites, reminders. I feel like we're doing good news. It's a good thing and a bad thing because we are getting people watching our YouTube videos of the meetings that they can't go to, but then they're not coming to the meetings. So in some ways, we're making it too easy for people to, be able to catch up and be a fly on the wall. And yeah, so I guess that's my big thought is just how do we get more notice of the meetings? And we'll pass over to Ronnie.
Yeah, and we already send out the newsletter with the meetings every 2 weeks. So anyone who opens it is going to know what's happening, and that's a pretty big list. I was also thinking about, like, we know who the people are who show up regularly, and then how do we move out just one circle beyond those people? Kind of like invite your friends to the navigation session. Who are the people who are a little bit more peripheral, who've still been involved? And I'm like, I think we have this written down somewhere. Remember with those lists we made of like who are the really involved people and then the somewhat involved people. So the earth regenerators, people like that who've been somewhat involved. I think those people would be most likely to get more involved. Yeah, I'm not sure. And I also feel like it's all kind of connected to the overall the strategy, our social media strategies and the review that the Outreach Guild is currently doing. So it is all wrapped in there as well. But it's funny about people watching the videos and not coming to the meetings. I hadn't even thought about that in that way. It's like, oh, oops. A blessing and a curse. So anyway, I'll pass to Roman.
So the question as I see it is who should get invited and how to notify about the coordination circle. So I would see the coordination circle to be most useful more as an update period rather than a discussion period. So the coordinators from the guilds meet at the coordination circle. So who should get invited to those? It's primarily the caretakers. I mentioned Heather at the beginning because she had been at the first meeting and I wasn't sure. And I know that she's not a caretaker, at least currently. Um, um, but anyway, so I think it should focus on the caretakers, and I see it more as an opportunity to do updates with sort of like light housekeeping like this, so that leaves space for discussions on how things happen and what's going to happen and how to do it would happen at the guild meetings But now I'm thinking about it. So this is maybe something to consider, that the coordination circle is also an opportunity, like the hard work did in this meeting, in sort of like letting the outreach guild know that we're looking for collaboration, that there's an overlap, either where there are overlaps or questions or considerations to do with other guilds. Then this is how we can announce it at the coordination circle. There's also that, as each guild is saying what they're doing and what they're planning, that the coordination circle is an opportunity for other guilds also to be able to say, well, hey, actually, we can help with that, or I think that we're already doing something similar. So, so that the part of informing the other caretakers what the different guilds are doing is also an opportunity for people who could potentially be affected by what's going on in the other guilds, can then have a say. Generally speaking, the guilds are think through who else could be affected by this activity or whatever. But the coordination circle is an opportunity for any other guild to be able to say, oh, actually, I think we will be affected by this also. So over to you, Ben.
So you've just successfully reinvented the coordination circle, but that's exactly the coordination circle. So yeah, and I like your point that it makes sense to keep this really and we also have on the agenda, if there are topics that come up that require more deep discussion and across the guilds, then we've got the hive mind time. And then we can, and so I really like the idea that we keep this time really focused on updates, who's doing what, and where does that go then? So like we've talked about some things going to outreach, and so I think that this seems to be working pretty well. Like this is all it needs to be for the coordination circle. I think maybe we should invite Heather. This also reminded me that in the finance and legal guild, one of the things that we talked about was, as a guild, how do we stay connected in between the meetings? When something pops up, if there's a task to do and it doesn't go according to plan, or there's new information, then how does the person who has taken on the task get back in touch with the guild and not have to wait 2 weeks for the next meeting? So, but and likewise, I think it's really useful. Like Ronnie, you were just mentioning that outreach is is engaged in this sort of reviewing social media strategy. And so for me, that's a cool. All right, now I don't have to, my concerns are noted and I can wait and see, where that goes. So yeah, this feels, I'm feeling good about this. I think that uh, it feels like we've gotten out on the table what we need, and we can just let it go where it's going to go. So I guess once more round, it looks just, are we done with this topic? Is this good, or does anyone have anything they want to add? Ronnie?
I'm good. Roll on.
I'm good too, Ben.
Cool. Well, then I think that we've gotten to the end of the agenda, and our action items are and oh, and actually, and then I am getting this right. We're going to talk about navigation sessions at outreach as well.
Yes.
Cool. And everyone remember that we do have hive mind time. So if there's something that comes up that's on the agenda for one of the guilds and it can't be covered in that time, then we can always fall back to the navigation, to the hive mind time. All right. I believe we've made it through our agenda. Our checkout is creating a mantra. This is our mantra from last week. And it's really just something that last thoughts for the good of the cause, things that keep us on track, as a bit of a checkout. So with that, Ronnie, anything mantra-like or last words for the good of the cause like?
Lean into the process. Over to a well.
I like what's already there. Back to you, Ben.
Me too. If it ain't broke, don't fix it. All right, and then we are done with this coordination circle and in good time. So efficient and effective. All right. Well, I guess with that, goodbye and
Bye.
probably see most of you tomorrow.
Yep.
Bye.